All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Amazon Holiday Success webinar. I'm really excited to be digging in today into how to boost sales with Google, Meta, and TikTok. In just a moment, I'm going to pass the mic over to our star-studded lineup. We've got Clayton from Carbon6 and our very own Greg Rudolph. But first, let me outline what's in store for this, as we like to say, golden nugget-packed webinar. So, we're all here because we understand the importance of Q4 and, in some shape or form. And, whether you have a giftable item that's going to really take off during the busy holiday season, or maybe you just have a consumable that has a chance of really garnering some serious traction during Fall Prime Day or Black Friday, Cyber Monday, hands down, there's definitely a ton of opportunity for brands to gain some serious wins in Q4. But the idea here isn't just about Q4, really, right? That's the title, of course, but it's also about Q1, right? It's also about the new year. And so here at Vendo, we really have our eye on Q4 and what Q1 rather, and what Q4 can mean for going into that new year stronger than ever. In specific, really impacting baseline sales and baseline ranking is what we aim for during Q4, right? What can we do to really grease up that algorithm, show Amazon that we mean business more than ever, show the consumer, maybe through acquiring new customers, driving more repeat, and then really go into the new year, like I mentioned, stronger than ever, right? So that's kind of the long-term goal here. And so, the goal of this webinar is really going to be talking about how you can amplify that potential, right? And so between Vendo and Carbon6, we're super confident that in order to hit those ranking and sales goals, external traffic should most likely be part of that marketing mix, right? So today we're going to dig into why driving external traffic from Google and Meta and even TikTok is key, how to drive external traffic. And then we're going to get a little bit into the weeds a bit on some ways for automating that process. So really excited to get into all of that. Hopefully everyone can leave this webinar with some actionable takeaways. I know when I'm watching webinars, that's really, what I'm looking for is what can I do right after this, take action, see success, and make the most out of this hour. So without further ado, I'll hand it off to Clayton and Greg to share a little bit about themselves, and then we can dig into the content. Clayton, feel free to take it away.
Yeah, thanks for the intro, Nick. So I'm Clayton Atchison. I've been in the e-commerce world since 2014 in a serious way. A few years before that, but just kind of meddling around. Been selling private label since 2018. Before that, it was mostly arbitrage. I'm now the director of business development for Carbon6. I've been there coming up on 2 years, but it's a young company. It's only been around for like 2 years and 4 or 5 months. So I've been there pretty much since the beginning when it got traction. And most recently, I've just been diving full, like head first into external traffic. We have a software tool that I'm leading at Carbon6 called PixelMe, which helps a lot with external traffic and tracking organic rank and trying to figure out, is your external traffic efforts actually moving the needle for your business and making money? So I've just been fully obsessed with that for about a year. And that's how I, chance would have it, ran into Greg because he was doing similar things in a parallel route. And so just really happy to be here.
All right, Greg, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself, man?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I manage several different flavors of advertising here at Vendo, including all of our paid search and paid social campaigns. So Google, Meta, TikTok, Pinterest, Snapchat, Spotify, LinkedIn, you name it. Driving to Amazon, Walmart, D2C. And so I've been selling on Amazon since 2012. I started in my own private label business and then built that up, sold it in 2020, thankfully, and then started my own agency. And now I help sellers do the same thing in-house here at Vendo. So yeah, Clayton and I feel like Vendo years are like dog years, So Clayton and I go way back and excited to share a couple tidbits and golden nuggets with you today.
All right. Well, thank you both. And Clayton, again, thank you for being on this webinar. So Yeah, let's dig in here. I think, maybe some of us don't understand why driving external traffic to Amazon from Google and Meta is important, or why it's important for leading up to the holidays, right? So let's talk a little bit about, leading into the holidays, during the holidays, et cetera. Why is that important? So Greg, maybe you can kick it off on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So we all know that the number one most important thing is to give the Amazon algorithm the signals that it needs to boost your product up in the rankings. So it's just everything that we do with external is all about giving the Amazon algorithm the right signals. And so number one in that black box, of course, is sales velocity. That's the strongest indicator to Amazon of which products are successful and which are not. And so of course, Amazon wants to expand the size of their own pie. And while there's millions of searches on Amazon, there is only a limited amount. And so Amazon wants to incentivize you to bring additional traffic to the platform. And the easiest way to do that is from these other channels like Google, Meta, and TikTok. And so by bringing on that external traffic, more additional shoppers, ideally, if the audiences are targeted correctly, you're able to increase your sales velocity, and that will in turn increase your rankings. The second thing that we find is that because this is so powerful, Amazon really wants to incentivize you to do it. And so there's some ways that they publish and some ways that they don't. Of course, the number one is using the Amazon attribution program. So they give you a 10% referral fee bonus for each sale that you drive that originates off platform. So instead of paying 15% to Amazon, you only pay 5% on those sales. So that's tremendous. And especially in this era of really focusing not just on gross sales, but on profitability, really important. The second thing is that we find in our studies that you get about a 3 times algorithm boost for each external sale. So if a sale originates on Amazon or like through Amazon ads, that's great. But if it originates starting on Google and then converts using an Amazon attribution link, we find that it counts about 3 times as much in the algorithm. And so again, it's all about just feeding the Amazon algorithm those positive signals leading into the holidays to get your product ranked higher. And in fact, Nick here can show you an example we found with TikTok. These are a couple of different brands that we've run TikTok campaigns for, and you can see beginning to drive external traffic to the Amazon platform improves your Amazon bestseller ranking. So of course, a lower number is better here. You want to be closer to number one. And with this product here, we were at about 37, 38,000 before starting a TikTok campaign and got that down to about 19,000 in just the span of a week or two. So you can see these effects of Amazon really prioritizing external traffic. There's a few more examples here, Nick. You want to show the next one? Another brand here. This is a huge, tremendous improvement because not only are you driving additional sales, but you're also giving Amazon those positive signals in the algorithm. And Amazon just loves TikTok traffic. And then one more here. Perfect. You can see the same thing again. This product actually is really interesting because this one went out of stock. And that's why you can see that we had a really positive, low bestseller ranking for quite a while, went out of stock, lost it. And normally it would take months to be able to regain that momentum. But here, by just stoking the algorithm with a little bit more external traffic, we were able to recapture that momentum in just the span of a few days. So that's just a couple examples of why it's so important. But Clayton, you probably have a few more.
Yeah, we have lots of very similar case studies, less so with TikTok. I follow TikTok pretty closely, and sometimes like what's really important when running external traffic is doing exactly what you guys are trying to illustrate, which is knowing your numbers, right? You can spend a lot of money on external ads very easily and be like, is this working? Is it not working? What's going on? And TikTok specifically is, there's articles you can read out there that there's a claim that TikTok is purposefully trying to not play nice with Amazon attribution. They're building TikTok Shop. They're doing lots of things arguably to try to compete more directly with Amazon instead of just being, a content creator place where it used to be you went to go watch funny videos. But I follow a lot of different people with very similar studies. And from what I can tell is that some people argue that they're actually not clicking on a link and going to Amazon at all, even if you put that in the creator's profile or have an ad, but rather people are jumping off of TikTok, going to Amazon.com and doing branded searches and searching for that product and finding it that way. And Paul Harvey has a lot of data very similar to your guys's that shows consistently that TikTok ads, TikTok traffic has a positive effect on your Amazon ranking and your Amazon BSR. Where I mostly spend most of my time is on Google ads, as Greg, you know, and we have lots of case studies, and if it makes sense to show them now or later, we absolutely can. But yes, what we see is that when you send traffic, BSR goes down. And if you're sending Google traffic, unlike TikTok, you can do exact match keywords or broad match or phrase match, whatever flavor you like. But what we found with our studies is that exact match traffic has the biggest effect. So if you're running a Google ad, like the overall arching story here is external traffic really, really matters. Greg, you said that your studies show that outside sales coming onto Amazon have like 3x the rank juice, so to speak, or the effect on the Amazon listing. I would argue that it's even higher. We do a lot of campaigns where we spend a reasonably small amount of $25 per day in ads. This is one example of that. This is a jewelry category, which is, I would argue, one of the most difficult categories to push external traffic directly to a PDP page, so a product detail page, because like if you ask my girlfriend or my mom or guys as well, right? Like, hey, what jewelry do you want? If you type in gold necklace, like chances are me, Greg, and Nick will pick 3 different types of bling, right? He's going to like a longer one or a different like form. So jewelry is something I consider to be a very shoppable product. Clothes is the same way. People aren't just going to buy the first t-shirt. If you're imagining the journey, you're going to Google, you're typing in black t-shirt, you're likely not to buy the first one, right? Maybe you want a different material, different length, different cut at the neck, very, very shoppable. Whereas if you're going for a hammer, like you just need a hammer. You don't really care like how nice the hammer is. You're not going to use it every day. So this case study, to get back on track, is really interesting because we took a shot at it. I told the customer, hey, I really don't know about running traffic to jewelry or clothes. It can be difficult, but we did, and we did exact match traffic. Now, what I'll tell you guys completely transparently is that the Google to Amazon performance alone was not very good. It was like 200 something percent ACoS. So just looking at that, the customer would never want to continue doing this. But there's more of a story there, and that's exactly what Greg so amply displayed, is that you should be paying attention to your BSR and your organic rank on keywords. So this guy, we did it way back in like February. This was right before Valentine's Day, and we just sent a bunch of traffic. He got some purchases and he got some add to carts. But what happened was we took keywords from number 32 and number 27 to up to number 2, like right before Valentine's Day. And he actually like ran out of a lot of inventory. As you can imagine, tons of people are shopping for jewelry right before Valentine's Day. And so then we ended up turning the ads off, and now they're back on. But this shows in this graph where ads began and to where Valentine's Day came up, and you can see a steady slope upwards and then a spike, and you'll get that. These are the types of things that I've only seen when using external traffic to, I don't want to say manipulate, maybe that's a bad word, to influence the Amazon algorithm and the organic rank of products. And we've got literally dozens and dozens of these same case studies. I'm not an expert in the TikTok world, but I am an expert in the Google to Amazon world. And this is a dime a dozen. We see this constantly. So the important part here is knowing your numbers and being able to not just pay attention to the Google to Amazon ACoS, but see the bigger picture and understand what's happening with organic rank. And both Carbon6 and VENDO, I think we see eye to eye on that so much that you have to dive into the numbers and really understand how many incremental sales are you driving with this organic rank increase, and blend those numbers together and what we call blended ACoS. And the results are outstanding. You know, you take a ACoS from 200% that on the face looks like 200%. You blend in the increase in organic sales because of the outstanding rank, and you know you're down to 7%, 8%. It's a lot more fruitful than it looks like. And if you can maintain that over time, that number goes down and down and down. So long story short, external traffic, I don't know any better way, TOS compliantly, to rank in this day and age.
Yeah, it's really interesting too, because if you just take a step back as well and think about it, right? Especially now with TikTok Shop being such a buzz, Amazon wants to compete, right? They want to compete with TikTok, they want to compete with Google, they want to compete with Meta. They're the third biggest advertising platform after Meta and Google, right? So there's a incentive for them to systematically, through the algorithm, encourage and reward brands that bring traffic away from those platforms to Amazon. And I think you're going to see that even more with TikTok, right? Where brands that are going to drive people to Amazon rather than, trying to convert them through that TikTok shop, they're going to get even more rewarded, I would bet, in these next, 6 to 12 months. So if you just kind of think about it that way, I think it makes a lot of sense why Amazon would want to do that. Not to mention, even if they're not buying your product that you sent them to Amazon for, well, it's the place for everything, right? And so Amazon feels confident enough that if someone, is driving for their jewelry, maybe they don't buy it right then and there, but they go and they're like, oh yeah, I need my toilet paper, I need my paper towels, I need this and that, right? So just getting people in there is going to be the big reason why Amazon is doing this.
Amazon has every incentive in the world to get as many people as possible onto the Amazon.com platform. Every incentive in the world, whether they're buying your product or another. And as Greg pointed out, that's why they're incentivizing people. That's why they created the Amazon attribution program. That's why they created the brand referral bonus. And if you want to figure out how the Amazon algorithm is working, just follow the breadcrumbs and do what they're telling you to do. They're telling you, hey, we want you to do this. That's why we're incentivizing you. It's not rocket science, but such a small population of people are doing it. And tying this back in to the holidays. So many people are not doing this, that it can give you an unfair advantage. If you're doing it and your competition is not, there's no better time if you have the inventory ready to rank than before the holidays. And external traffic can be that extra push to get you up there. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that, and Greg is so good at this, is that when you're running these ads, everybody, like, you don't just have to run Google ads and hope that they sell like one time. It's not just one click. All the, professional D2C sites and Sephora and Gucci and just any D2C site you've ever seen on Shark Tank, they know full well the power of retargeting using pixels so that you can retarget these people in the future. If you have a brand that is, not a one-time purchase, it's especially important. But even if it is a one-time purchase product, the power of retargeting, meaning that, if they click on your original Google ad, but they don't buy, you can now advertise to them on Facebook or on TikTok and other places. A lot of data shows, many people need multiple touch points before they make that purchasing decision. So there's never a better time to start building an audience than before Q4. And you can retarget during Q4, but then you'll also be able to retarget those people in Q1 in case they didn't get the Christmas product or present they wanted or anything like that. It's really, there's not a better time to start your retargeting initiatives that can make you money, not just during the holidays, but for the rest of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we really focus here on what can we do to maximize sales in Q4, which is really important. But another piece of that is what can we do to build our audience in Q4 when they're already warm, to then be able to continue that momentum into Q1 and Q2 of the next year. And so one of the ways that we can do that, and Clayton, you can speak to this, is by using Pixelmate to build your audience base so that these ads, yes, hopefully they convert, but even if they don't, you're still building your audience that you can retarget to later.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Pixelmate is a software that we've partnered with VENDO, and they're testing out right now. They, in full transparency, VENDO has been doing a lot of the things we're talking about for a long time. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys just had it built in as you stitched a lot of things together, figured out all the puzzle pieces, and we're doing it yourself. And then Pixelmate came along and we created what's called optimization for conversion, which means that instead of just optimizing for clicks and treating, a 7-year-old girl on a tablet clicking around the same way you would treat a 30-year-old business owner with a lot more disposable income, we communicate between Amazon and Google in a way that allows Google to better optimize for conversions, figure out the age, gender, time of day people are shopping, income levels, marital status, the weather where that person is at right now, all these huge data points that Google has to be able to optimize conversion. And we have case study after case study after case study showing that that increases performance 2 to 3 times. And that's kind of when Greg got interested, right? Before Pixelmate was doing all these things and we thought it was impressive. And Greg was like, yeah, we do that too. I was like, really? And it's just an internal software. And he said, yeah, but that optimization for conversion thing, when you guys build that, give me a call. And that's where we're at now. And that's what I kind of think takes these external efforts to the next level is optimization for conversion. And then of course, retargeting. And so the idea, guys, is just that you build these audiences. You're not just spending this money on a one-time click, like Greg said. You're doing what all of the very professional companies have been doing for a long time, which is going on a customer journey with that person and following them around where they're using the internet already on Facebook and on Instagram and showing up and giving them the ability to interact with your brand again and repurchase purchase, become a new to brand purchaser. Not sure, Greg, if I got off track there, but did I answer your question directly?
I think you did. I think, long story short, the idea is to maximize for conversion to drive sales during the holidays. But then, should you not convert those people, still be able to build either a retargeting or a lookalike pool by collecting it through a pixel, whether you do that yourself or you do that through Pixelmate, so that you can retarget them later, early in the new year.
Yeah, nothing frustrates me more whenever I'm talking to a client and they're running external ads and they're not using any sort of retargeting. It's like going to a buffet and just eating the salad. Like it's just, it's not smart. Honestly, I don't mean to be rude. If anybody out there is doing it, this is why you come to these webinars, to learn. But you can read Neil Patel's many articles about retargeting, but it's one of the most efficient ways to spend ad dollars. That's why all the big people are doing it. And Amazon now is just released that they're going to allow any sort of Amazon attribution traffic from outside that comes into Amazon, that you'll be able to retarget using DSP. That's a closed beta for now. I know some people, so if you guys are interested in that, I can get you in. But yeah, that'll be rolling out much more completely very soon, because Amazon understands the importance of retargeting as well, which is the entire reason Amazon DSP exists. So just follow the smart money is what I think. Smart money is retargeting. You should be too. It's you can do it with a small budget. There's no reason why, if you're a smaller seller, you can't be doing this. It's completely controllable with the ad budgets and everything else. And just so few people are doing it that I think it gives you a huge advantage.
Right. And I think one thing that's lost a lot is we think about retargeting with Meta, certainly, and building a funnel, but we don't often think about retargeting on Google. But that's a really important strategy to be using, is you can build a multi-step funnel on Google as long as you have those audiences in place. And so, Pixelmate is one way to build that audience. Another way you can do it is just by visitors to your own D2C site. If those shoppers go cold, or if they fail to convert after, say, 30 days, a lot of times they're more likely to convert on Amazon, just because Prime members are more comfortable checking out there, and Amazon brings with it an authority that your D2C site might not. And so retargeting your D2C customers on Amazon, or building lookalike audiences based off your D2C customers and pointing those people to Amazon, is also something that you can do by setting a custom audience on Google.
Yeah. And I told you about this, Greg, but we had a guy, we've multiple of these, but one stands out because I was directly involved, was a guy that had a Shark Tank product, and he was sending traffic from Google to his D2C. So we had all the data to look at how his campaigns were performing. It was about a 40% ACoS using a Performance Max campaign from Google to his D2C. And what's really impressive is this guy, when you own a D2C site, right? And even if you don't, the information I'm about to say is extremely important, is that on his D2C site, he has complete control over what reviews he displays and which ones he does not. 4.8, 4.9 stars all over the website, right? Perfect product. It's on Shark Tank by now. 40% ACoS is what he had. On Amazon, his product was much less well reviewed, 3.9 stars. And I told the guy straight up, I said, I don't know if this sending traffic to Amazon is a good idea, because 3.9 stars based on our data specifically has not done well. Usually 4.3 and above are the best. And sure enough, his ACoS with the brand referral bonus, I checked on it before this call, is 1%. Yesterday it was 0 historically, but with the brand referral bonus, he's at 1% ACoS. And that is not even comparing apples to apples. I think if Amazon had 4.8 stars like his website, it would be in the negative where, it's $100 product. So he gets $10 every time he sells it. It's taken about $11 to create a sale, but he's getting 10 back. So he's spending about $1 to sell a $100 product. But if he had 4.9 stars, I bet it would be actually negative. Maybe it'd be $5 per acquisition. And the point here is just that sending traffic from Google to Amazon, if you have a good listing, is so beneficial because yes, it helps you rank, but also you can just create new profit streams. Especially
and I think that's a good segue, Clayton, into kind of getting a little bit more deep into like some tangible tactics, right? So talking about, optimizing for reviews, optimizing for conversion. But yeah, so let's get into a little bit more about, when we are driving traffic to Amazon, what are some of the specific tactics of how we do that, right? What audiences, what keywords, what creative, what are some of those tricks and tips to help maximize, that spend and make it more efficient?
I can jump in, Greg. You can interrupt me at any time.
Sure, we do it all day long. So you go ahead,
yeah.
throw
So,
out what you know, and then I'll add to it.
I would say that if you have a shoppable product like clothes, jewelry, or a coherent brand with very similar products, we see really good results with just sending traffic to the storefront, not to the product detail page. Now that's going to have, based on our data, less of an effect on the organic ranking of an individual product, right? Because when you're pushing sales velocity and sending those signals to Amazon that this product is specifically advertising for these keywords on Google and it's converting, that's where you see a huge organic rank increase. But it's a lot of times easier to create a new profit stream, meaning, hey, you would just increase the budget on Google all day if you're sending to a storefront. Now, with holidays, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, well, storefronts, a couple notes that we've seen there. Definitely creating a holiday themed storefront is key. So you can swap out your creative, and you should definitely holidayize that, and that really improves your conversion rate when driving to your brand storefront, just by having holiday themed creative in there. The other thing, you mentioned earlier, sometimes these campaigns work so well that inventory becomes a problem. And of course, inventory constraints during the holidays with FBA are always an issue. And so by driving to a brand storefront instead of a product PDP page, you're able to kind of spread out your traffic. And if you go out of stock on a certain variation, you're still able to convert that traffic maybe to another size or another color. And so a brand storefront also helps with inventory constraints during the holidays.
Absolutely. And have you guys seen the hypothesis would be that the average order value from a storefront would be higher, right? When you're sending to a product detail page, maybe they just see one product, but if there's complementary products or similar, especially when you're, purchasing for Christmas presents, I know my mom would be like, I went to go buy you this, but I saw this thing and it was so cute. I got it too. And now I got both, right? So in the storefront, they have more options to increase your AOV, and you'll get 10% on all of that. The brand.
Yeah, we find a higher conversion rate generally when driving to a brand storefront versus a particular PDP because, for example, let's say you're talking flavors. You don't know exactly which flavor somebody is going to prefer, but if they land on the brand storefront and they can choose their favorites, you're going to have a higher conversion rate. However, I see the idea that you have there with a higher average order value when driving to a brand storefront. One thing we try to do is, yes, I recommend driving to a brand storefront 9 times out of 10. But when you drive to a PDP, we try never to drive to a single product. We try to drive to a bundle PDP. And that gives us a much higher average order value than driving to a brand storefront where people are, yes, you're going to have a higher conversion rate, but you're going to have a lower average order value because people are just choosing the one item that they prefer. So if you drive to a PDP, definitely try to drive to a bundle as opposed to an individual item.
And on the flip side, I'm usually pushing to a PDP because most of the clients that are coming our way, and we kind of accidentally created an agency, and now we're partnering with people because that wasn't we want to be a software company, not an agency. And that's why we're partnering with people like VENDO that really understand this world, is that when people will come to me, most of the time, they're like, I want to rank higher. I want the organic sales from Amazon, and they're okay with 100% ACOS or 80% ACOS if you can show them that their organic rank is going from 15 to number 5. So that's where, you have to be able to understand the mission. The mission is not to have a 10% ACOS when just looking at Google to Amazon, but you're going to have a fantastic ACoS when you blend it all together. So we kind of have different approaches, but I know you've done both. Like you've been doing
Yeah,
this for so
and
long.
one thing that we found is that we have pretty strong data to suggest that is very similar to the case studies that you just showed there, that Amazon is able to read the Google search keyword that you're using. And so that's part of the reason that using exact search terms is so important, because you really want to concentrate that traffic on a particular keyword so that you're sending that positive signal to Amazon. Well, if you use phrase match or broad match, you're distributing your search traffic among more keywords.
Exactly.
So if you want to
exact match
rank, you use Google exact match for a specific keyword that you want to rank on and drive that traffic to a PDP. While if you're looking for a higher ROAS or a lower ACoS, then you want to use Meta or TikTok driving to a brand storefront.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And thinking back to the holidays, and then also just talking about why this is so important. Like we've had people that try to do this by themselves, and it doesn't always end up great, right? You do need to be able to understand which keywords to target. And Pixelme has a tool where it'll look at Google search volume, Amazon search volume, your current rank, your competitors rank, and the estimated cost per click on Google, and put those all into a list from 1 to 100 with which keywords we recommend as being the very best to target. But it's also really important during the holidays because we know keywords change. So being able to understand how to use Google Keyword Planner effectively and look at the keywords over time, that's where, if you're new to this and you want to test it, I would just recommend linking up with Greg and just saying, hey, this is what I'm trying to achieve, but I'm not a Google Ads expert. And Nick, to answer your question more directly, because me and Greg could talk all day, some tips and tricks I would say that we found when driving to a product detail page is inside of Google Ads pinning headlines, one of them being the price. If you just show, best salt shaker, buy now on Amazon, whatever, you're going to get a lot of clicks. Your click-through rate's going to be quite high, which can decrease your cost per click. But your conversion, if somebody's looking for a $5 salt shaker and you have a really nice ornate one that's $25, there's going to be a lot of bounce, right? A lot of people are just going to bounce off and say way too expensive. But if you pre-qualify the clicker with a price of $25.99, now you're leaning towards, people with more disposable income or people that love salt shakers, whatever it may be. So your click-through rate might go down, but your conversion rate is going to go up. Dynamic keyword insertion, which I know Greg utilizes, is another thing that we've seen increases click-through rate, increases conversion. There's a lot of tips and tricks, but those are two of the ones, including call outs is a third one, I would say. You guys can Google this if you don't know what I'm talking about. But dynamic keyword insertion, pinning the price, mentioning the word Amazon, and using call outs are four of the things we've seen increase conversion the most.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, let's talk a little bit about audience, keywords, and creative. Totally agree with adding price. We find you can't use the word Amazon in your text, otherwise that gets flagged. So you can use things like AMZ or WMT.
I believe that changed like a month ago. So they had a TOS up. I'll look it up. But yeah, we now are running like hundreds of campaigns with the word Amazon as a headline and haven't had a single issue.
Well, so, we'll send them over to you. You can you can clean them up. Also, Prime. If you say free Prime shipping, that's allowed too. So that's another headline that really should go in every single one of your ads. And then, like Clayton mentioned, promotion assets. They used to be called call outs. Mentioning your holiday discounts are really important as well. Another thing, we talked about making your brand storefronts holiday themed, but you can also make your PDP holiday themed. And so that's something that's really important in Q4 as well. As far as keywords, one great trick that we find is, especially for really giftable items, just go through all the genders and all the ages. So like gifts for boys age 8, exact match. Gifts for boys age 9, exact match. Gifts for boys age 10, crushes it. Those are really important keywords in the Amazon search algorithm, and there's a ton of traffic on Google for those. And so just adding stuff in like that is really key. Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, no, I think this is a good opportunity to kind of probably address, a concern that some brands or sellers out there have around driving traffic to Amazon, right? And that is the potential, cannibalization of their D2C business. That comes up a lot. We work with a lot of D2C first brands, that, have that hesitation. And so, we have to kind of get them over that barrier. And I know here at Vendo, we've come up with a lot of different kind of tactics to offset some of those concerns or offset them even almost completely. We understand that the conversion rate on Amazon, particularly for new to brand customers, is going to be much higher, right? It's usually about 5x on average. So that's a good reason enough to drive traffic to Amazon on its own. But there's still, the margin consideration and other things. So Greg, maybe you can get into a little bit about some of the tactics that we use to kind of offset some of those concerns and really make sure that we're driving, either net new audiences or audiences that strategically make sense for a D2C focused brand.
Yeah, so when you're talking Google, one of the best ways to do that is by using Amazon specific keywords. So instead of just having whatever apple slicer is your keyword, use apple slicer Amazon, and just adding Amazon to those keywords is a whole new audience, right? Those are people who are not going to go to your D2C site. They want to check out on Amazon. They're also most likely to be Prime members. And so you're going to have a really high conversion rate on those keywords. And there's a lot less competition on those keywords because it's limited to Amazon searches only. So you should definitely be using Amazon's. Just take all your best keywords, append Amazon, and those are some of the best ways of avoiding conflicts on Google. When you're talking Meta or even TikTok to an extent, it's all about the audience and just separating out those groups. And so you can retarget your cold customers from D2C to Amazon, like I mentioned earlier, people who maybe added to cart but haven't converted and are more than, say, 30 days old. There's also targeting options within Google or within Meta, like big box shoppers, for example. And then if you have data from a pixel that you've been using, for example, like Pixelmate, you definitely want to create custom audiences with those people, retarget it. Let's say they've already been going from Google to Amazon over the past 6 months in a campaign. You want to be creating audiences to target those people specifically back to Amazon during Q4 or even Q1.
Yep, I agree with all that. And then I always just tell people with whether or not you want to send traffic from Amazon to D2C, if you haven't tried sending traffic to Amazon, like get the numbers. We recommend starting off with a small budget of $25 per day. I had a guy that was like, yeah, my CEO is super against this, but he's going to let me do $25 a day. Fast forward like 35 days later, and now all their traffic is going to Amazon. I think it's important to understand what the business's goals are, right? If you're trying to sell your business and you want more of a balance and not all of your eggs in one basket, it makes sense. But I encourage everybody to run a test, get the data, see how much better the conversion rate is, see what the math says. And then the other thing I always tell people is that you can't run shopping ads to Amazon.com from Google. You have to own the URL. And unless you're Jeff Bezos, and I doubt he's watching, then you can't do that. So it's not that the entire real estate of Google ads specifically will be going to Amazon.com, because there are some just simple limitations where you can't. So shopping ads, one of the most popular ways to advertise on Google, can still go to your D2C, and you can take up more real estate and still have that sort of balanced portfolio. And again, small budget, you can create cost per click bid limits so that you're not, going crazy and people worry about bidding against themselves in certain situations where they're going to send some traffic to D2C and some traffic to the Amazon. I always tell them, you have a lot of competitors. I wouldn't worry too much about bidding against yourself. It's a big world out there. And one thing you can do to control that is just cost per click bid limits.
Right. And, to divide it up also with search ads, sometimes we tell people, send your branded traffic to your D2C site, since those people are already familiar with your brand and comfortable checking out on your site, and then send non-branded traffic to Amazon, because those are net new people that probably need those reviews and all the social proof on Amazon to nudge them to check out. And then of course, later on, they become branded searches and you can send those people back to your D2C. So You can also divvy up your search ads, non-branded to Amazon, branded to D2C. Just another way of doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
and
do
I think
just do something.
no, sorry, go
I
ahead,
always
Clayton.
encourage people, like, do something rather than nothing and start testing, and you're gonna generally like the results you see, unless you just have a very poor product, which is, tough to fix. You got bigger problems if your product has 3.5-star reviews, et cetera, et cetera. But we have a really high retention rate at Pixelme, and I know you do too, Greg, because it works. Simply, it works, and it's a smart way. And I think, you fast forward a year or two, it's going to be a necessity to compete. You talk to people 7 years ago, they were like, I didn't even used to run ads. I just always sold everything I put up on Amazon. And now, generally everybody's running on Amazon ads, and it's become saturated. But the new, like, wide open green space that has the ability to create profit streams, like Greg really focuses on, and to increase rank, is inside of is using external traffic.
Right, and it's really important to have your data all together in one place. And so, if you're doing it yourself, you got to have the data from the console. You got to have your ranking, which you can use a tool like Helium 10, for example, to track your ranking. And then you got to have your overall, you got to have your Amazon attribution sales, and you have to have your overall Amazon sales so that you can see that halo effect that we're talking about. So you got to link all that together in one place, or you can use a tool like Pixelme that combines it all. But it's really important to at least have those 4 data points so you can figure out if this is working or not.
Yeah, and it doesn't always work. I've seen products that just perform really poorly. It's usually due to the product, but it works a lot more often than it doesn't. I have seen, I used to not send traffic to the storefront because we were so obsessed with ranking, and we were like, oh, storefront won't rank you, and then we started running storefront, and we're like, oh, but this is profitable. So, like,
Right.
generally you can pivot and find a way to where external traffic will work for you, especially if you get to the level where you're retargeting, which sometimes takes a little time to gather that audience, but it's one of the most efficient ways. So I'm slowly being converted to the storefront world. I was so obsessed with ranking for so long, and still am, but slowly but surely now, when somebody comes, I teach my team to say, don't try to sell somebody selling a scarf or a certain type of shoe on ranking, because it's so difficult, right? Like, you can't advertise for the word shoes and expect like a 5% conversion rate. It's just not going to happen, because everybody wants different types of shoes. But storefront, it works.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you mentioned with bid caps is really important too. Maybe you want to have a campaign without bid caps that runs to your D2C, but then you want to have another campaign with low bid caps that runs to Amazon. That can be really helpful too. When you're using maximize conversion value, one of the tricks we use is, typically when you use maximize conversion value as a goal, you can't set a bid cap directly in the console, but you can create a shared budget that applies to only one campaign and set a bid cap for the shared budget. So creating shared budgets with bid caps for single campaigns is a really good workaround to do that.
Yeah, all of these things are controllable. The people are asking the right questions. It's a realistic question to say, well, I'm worried about, competing against myself. I'm worried about becoming too heavily Amazon and, my D2C store falling apart. All the right questions. And if you're working with the right people, they should have answers for those questions.
Right. And you can calculate your break-even CPC also to give you an idea of what that CPC can be.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. I think this has been a great deep dive into, some specific tactics on how to drive external traffic to Amazon. Before we kind of get into some of the discussion around, automating this a little bit more in a little bit more of a detailed way, is there anything else, gentlemen, on how and any other tactics that we didn't cover? It feels like we went through a lot, but just want to be sure.
I would just say what Greg said was really spot on about the, Christmas present for boys age 8, age 7. Forget the exact terminology he used, but make sure that start using the keyword planner, and it can suggest other related words, and understanding the traffic and the trends and which keywords you're going after, and then compare that side by side with the Amazon search volume, so that if you are sending to a PDP, you're getting the maximum rank on the keywords that matter. And Pixelme has that built in, but it's not going to pull up Christmas words in May or June or July. So you could preemptively do research and get ahead of the curve if you're leveraging, Amazon search volume tools along with like Google Keyword Planner.
Right. And you can pull your Amazon SQP reports from the previous year, for example, and see what you were ranking for in previous years.
100%.
That's really valuable as well. You can pull your Amazon ads data and use search terms from there and then plug those into Google Keyword Planner and see which have the most Google search volume. That's really valuable. Or you can just use other third-party tools, SEMrush, Carbon6, whatever, to do that research. Definitely, I would say those three: Google Keyword Planner, third-party enterprise tools, and then your own Amazon ads data is really important for picking your keywords.
And it's not too early to start. Like, believe it or not, people are already Christmas shopping. Like, people start earlier and earlier every year. So I know it's September, but we're talking about Q4 for a reason. People are literally Christmas shopping right now.
Right. And
so
you want to be at the top of those rankings now when it's much easier. Now to get to the top of a keyword like white elephant gifts might only require, 25 or 50 organic sales, just to give you an example. But getting to the top of that keyword in early December when it's peaking might require thousands. And so it's better to get there now while it's much more achievable.
100%.
Another thing you mentioned, Clayton, and Nick, you can talk a little bit about Vendo's service here, is that frankly, none of this is going to matter if your Amazon listings are not optimized. You have to have a highly optimized Amazon listing with great images, great bullet points, excellent A+ content, and at least, I would say, at least 30 reviews that are 4 stars or higher to be able to make this work. And so the first step, if you haven't already, is to optimize your Amazon listings, because driving a bunch of traffic to a non-optimized listing is not going to help. So that's something that Vendo can also help with, is setting up your Amazon listings correctly and tying all your parent and child ASINs together in the most strategic way, so that when you start driving traffic with all these tools we just mentioned, you're going to be successful.
Yeah. And nobody does it better than you guys, honestly. We don't have a service that does that. And I'll tell you just straight up, we deny people all the time. They say, I'm really excited to use Pixelme, and they give us a product and it's 3.7 stars. And we just tell them, you're going to waste your money. You have a lot of work to do. And if you send external traffic, we talk about it as like, external traffic's like adding gasoline to a fire. You can turn a small fire into a roar, but if you don't even have a spark and you got nothing, right, it's not a good idea. So optimizing your listing and storefront, both are extremely important. And we regularly tell people, we'd love to have your business, we'd love to help you, but we just don't think it's right. We don't think it's ethical, because we've been down this road and it doesn't work. That D2C product that I spoke about was a branded keyword that we went after, and the guy was really eager to try it, and he had visibility on Shark Tank, and we checked to see if there were already searches happening with the word Amazon, things like that. So that was a special case, but in most cases we won't even let people do it, but recommend people do it, right? I mean,
and when we're talking the cannibalizing D2C traffic, I think part of this conversation is also what not to do. And sometimes we get people who say, okay, we're going to drive our top 5 hero products, let's say, to our D2C site, and then you guys can have the remaining bottom 30 products and drive traffic to those on Amazon. That generally doesn't work. You want to boost your best-selling items on Amazon is much more successful than trying to prop up your bottom dwellers with external ads.
Agreed. What I would say, not really disagreeing, but a little bit different, is that you said earlier 30 reviews or less. We have pushed external traffic for launches, and we think it has a very big effect on having what you call successful launch, right? It's hard to take all the credit, but we do work with aggregators that have run data to say, hey, this one we did without external traffic, this one we did do with external traffic, and I forget the exact percentages, but the success rate is much higher.
That honeymoon period, I think, is a totally different set of criteria there, but absolutely, new product launch, I think that's okay. If you're outside, how long? I would say 60 days generally. Then you got to have at least 30 reviews.
Yep,
there's really
on that.
No product I would say that shouldn't have, and Nick, you can talk about this, that shouldn't have at least 30 reviews with the Vine program.
Yeah, no, of course. Obviously you're not going to have a review on day 0 or maybe even day 1, but there's definitely mechanisms that you can implement, through Amazon's ecosystem. as well as outside, to help drive review velocity very quickly, so that while you're getting that ranking juice from the external traffic in that first week or two of the honeymoon period, you're also bringing in reviews pretty quickly at the same time. And going into optimization of the product pages to drive conversion, we could have a whole separate webinar on that. Maybe we should, because there's really a lot to go into that. We have a great SEO team here at Vendo, an excellent creative and content marketing team. And we separate all those different departments here at Vendo to really make sure that every brand that works with us gets that kind of tailored approach that's coming from a strong expertise. So yeah, maybe we'll have a webinar on that here in a month or two. I think that'd be a lot of fun. But I like what you said, Clayton, about adding fuel to the fire, gas to the fire of how that relates to external and driving ranking. And I think that's really one of the big kind of morals of the story that we're saying here, right? And whether we're talking about impacting baseline sales into Q1, whether we're talking about driving up ranking in anticipation for the peak traffic around Black Friday, Cyber Monday, whether we're talking about not cannibalizing D2C, or why should we drive to Amazon instead of D2C, really it all kind of boils down to the ranking impact, right? Because if you drive somebody to D2C, you don't have an algorithm that you're greasing up, or to your words, Clayton, you're adding gas to the fire with, right? You're driving someone there, they either buy or they don't buy. There's not really this like indirect, impact that's happening, or benefit that's happening there. And so even if you're one of those people that are thinking, hey, my margins are so much better on D2C, well, like Clayton said earlier, test it and look at the numbers, do the math. Because if you're converting, at 4 to 5x the rate on Amazon, plus you're impacting organic ranking and thereby organic sales, as long as you're tracking that correlation, you're seeing that impact, and you're calculating all of that, now you might just be like, wow, yeah, sure, maybe my margins are a little bit worse on Amazon, but holy crap, I just got way more sales. My acquisition costs ended up being way less, and really the numbers end up looking a lot better on Amazon. I'm not saying that's going to happen all the time, but it's definitely something that we see.
I think you have a case study, Nick, somewhere in that deck where like this daily sales, I think weekly sales went from 70 to 700. I got on a call with that guy, and I like started bringing up Google to Amazon ACoS, like just as a starting point. And he was like, dude, I do not care. Like, quit talking about the Google to Amazon ACoS. That is the least of my worries. My worries now are inventory. If you keep going, I think it might be towards the end. I'm not sure. Yeah, back one, I think. So this guy was selling 70 per week. It was like a 300,000 search volume keyword. It took a little time, and we need to update this because I think he's in the top 10 now. But he went from 70 a week to 700 a week. And if you go to the next slide, and that was a blended ACoS of 3%, but this one went from 13 to 28, right? Like, this is what excites me. And that's why the storefront for me was always like secondary, because I when you get on calls like this, you literally are changing people's entire businesses, right? Their entire life, where, maybe the Google to Amazon ACoS isn't all that sexy, but when you go from 70 a week to 700, that was, you can get out of it. That was the main point I was trying to make, that that doesn't happen every single time, but what we do at a consistent clip is increasing things, not by 2% or 3%. We consider a win increasing your rank significantly to where you're looking at 30 or 40% increase in sales on Amazon. That's what can happen here. That's where I believe the main focus should be. If you have a little bit of a budget and say, I don't care if I break even on the Google to Amazon, or if I lose a little bit, as long as that rank's happening. That's the type of stuff we see.
100%. Well, hopefully that's been a lot of great tactics for everybody. We do have the Q&A open if anybody wants to ask any questions. But for the time being, Clayton, do you want to give a little bit more of a detail around kind of the technical process of how PixelMeet connects to Amazon and Google Ads, and just kind of explain that a little bit more, because I do feel like we've touched on it, but maybe a little bit more directly how that kind of secret sauce works would be nice.
Yeah, sure, let's do it. I've done this a lot of times, but let's do it again. So Yeah, Google Pixelme lives in between. This is the way I always do it. Use my hands. Pixelme lives in between Google ads, Facebook ads, and TikTok ads, and it connects via API. So if you're spending money, let's talk about Google. It'll bring in how much you're spending on that product, on that campaign, on the individual keywords. So you'll have all of that data inside of Pixelme where you can easily see it. And then on the other side, you have Amazon attribution. And we put all that data together to tell you this keyword has a 10% ACoS, while this keyword has a 100% ACoS. Let's, lower the bid over here and increase the budget over here. It helps you make quick and easy business decisions to see how everything is flowing and everything is working. And when you're creating an ad inside of Pixelme, it's actually quite user friendly. We don't have time for a demo, but with the click of a button, you can add pixels for retargeting, like we discussed. It's automatically going to include the Amazon attribution referral tag on any ad you create so that you're guaranteed to get the 10% brand referral bonus. So all that's done, it can be done manually, but it's a burden, as Greg knows. So it really takes all the work out of it. And then we display all the metrics graphically and numerically, where you can see your ACoS on a product, campaign, or keyword level. And we also have a keyword tracker that follows that over time. And by the end of this week, I believe we'll have all the metrics we're pulling in our best attempt at tacos, which is hard to achieve because you don't always understand everybody's advertising costs if they're doing things outside of their Amazon ecosystem, like paid influence and things. But and then a blended ACoS where we take into account those incremental sales and the optimization for conversion, the part that Greg was so interested in. It kicks in after 30 sales automatically. It used to be a manual change. Now, automatically when a product hits 30 sales, it switches over to optimization for conversion. And that's where Google takes the wheel and starts optimizing for all those things I mentioned: age, gender, time of day, et cetera, income level, et cetera, et cetera. And that's where we really see a huge decrease in ACoS. There's case studies on that too. Maybe we can send out the slides after.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, we'll send out the recording and the slides to everybody that registered. And then we did have a question on this topic from one of the guests here, Dennis. Thanks, Dennis, for joining. So he says, do you think the Amazon attribution data is accurate / correct? Tested it once with $250 driving from Facebook to Amazon storefront with help from Facebook person, and seemed meh. Not a single sale. Facebook person said they don't trust Amazon attribution data and those things always break. Could also just mean my campaign sucked or something else. What would you guys say to that?
I would say, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I would say first, it depends on the platform, but broadly speaking, I would say that the attribution data quality from Amazon is quite poor. In fact, we find that there's usually about a 30% gap there. So you're really getting 30% more sales than it shows. TikTok does not play nice with Amazon. So you're able to see the clicks come in, but you're not able to see the conversion value. Amazon doesn't officially say that, but we've seen it time and time again. So I would say definitely not on TikTok. Meta, I would say that the things do often break. And so you do see that pretty large discrepancy there. But what doesn't break is seeing your overall Amazon bestseller ranking and that halo effect that we're talking about. You'll always see that. And so part of the difficulty here is understanding, hey, what are your directly attributable sales versus what are your organic, what's the organic increase that you're seeing? And so sometimes you'll see an organic increase, but no directly attributable sales. And I think that's a sign that the issue is the attribution and not the ad itself. So Dennis, in your case, if you're seeing your overall rankings go up and your bestseller ranking go down, but you're not seeing that attribution data, that's probably what's happening. On Google, I would say it's much higher data quality. And so there, particularly on an exact match keyword, you should be able to see with relative accuracy the directly attributable sales when you're talking Google. How do you see it, Clayton?
Yeah, same. I think Facebook is in the middle, TikTok not good. And I don't think it's because of Amazon. It's because TikTok's not playing nicely.
Right. I said at the beginning, I said, Amazon loves TikTok traffic. I'm not sure TikTok loves Amazon traffic.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they don't like sending it to Amazon, at least.
Right.
So TikTok, not good. And that's why, Paul Harvey and you guys, a lot of people look at impressions overall or BSR and pay less attention to the attribution with TikTok. I think it has a wonderfully positive effect, is the truth. But actually being able to see it is different. Like we ran studies on TikTok where If you want a deep linking, which means it opens up in the app and everybody on TikTok's on their phone, that increases conversion, deep linking. But when you use deep linking, it breaks attribution completely. So if you're where you're more likely to convert, you don't have visibility. And where you do have visibility, you're less likely to convert. So it's a total trade-off. TikTok is not ideal. Most of our traffic is coming from Google, and we see a very high percentage. Like Google's the best by a mile.
Yeah, although I would say, in terms of TikTok not being ideal, if you're looking to improve your bestseller ranking overall,
Yes.
I would say TikTok is the best. If you're looking for directly attributable sales, Google is probably best. And Meta stands somewhere.
This is not a shot at TikTok traffic. I think it's important and very useful. It's just the visibility is not going to be great, and you're going to need to look at different metrics. Now with Google, I think it's highly accurate, and I think Facebook falls somewhere in the middle. For a year and a half ago, Facebook attribution was not good. I don't know when you ran it, Dennis, but it was not good. And then about 9 months ago, it got a lot better, where you can check how many clicks you're getting on Facebook and just simply compare that to Amazon attribution. And if the numbers are close, you're probably getting a high level of attribution. And that's what we check with Google. And I don't have a percentage, but I have not seen a 30% drop off between Google and Amazon. I think it's closer to 10, but I would need to check.
I agree. Yes, I mean 30% overall amongst all three platforms. But yeah, I would say Google's about 10.
I was going to say 95, but I got scared. You scared me. So
I'd say 90 is about right. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Google's quite good. Facebook, I think, Greg, you said that recently you've seen some things that were showing that Facebook attribution was having more problems again. So
yeah, it seems to have gotten worse in the past month or so, but I don't know if that's temporary or that's due to some change on Facebook's side.
Yeah. So Google, good attribution and good ranking ability. The other ones, it's still very important and very good. It's just you're going to have a little bit less visibility, but because of that, less people are going to be doing it.
Right. And Google, like we've talked about, is Amazon is reading your Google keywords and increasing your rank on those keywords. While Meta, you are getting the sales benefit, which is really important, especially during the holidays when people are more likely to convert, but you're not getting that keyword ranking boost because Amazon can't tell what it doesn't come from a keyword. So there's no keyword to read there.
Exactly. Yep. That's exactly right.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, hopefully that was enough detail for you, Dennis. But if not, I have one more little tip I'd throw in there, especially with paid social. Using a discount code can also be a different way to track those sales, right? So, if you're looking at attribution and then you're looking at the discount code usage, you'll see a difference there. And normally the discount code usage will be higher, and that kind of helps fill in that gap. So if you're running that, a promotion using a unique code that you can track back to that paid social ad can be helpful. And then, when we do like influencer and affiliate marketing, for example, here at Vendo, which I know isn't within the confines of this topic necessarily, we always look at spikes in sales when that post went live, right? And so depending on your ad budget and the timeline, you can look at your average sales right before you activated that, and then you can look at those spikes and kind of reasonably assume that some of that increase in that spike came from, the advertising efforts and attribute it kind of indirectly in that way. So definitely lots of ways to kind of try and get around that until, the attribution is improved. But this has been awesome, everyone. I know we're a few minutes over. We could keep talking all day, I'm sure. Thank you, everyone, for participating. Before we sign off, Clayton, any last words, or where can people find you?
That's what I was going to say. I don't know if there's an easy way for them to contact me. My email is Clayton at Carbon6, the number 6.io. Hopefully we can, I think we'll have some post, webinar marketing materials that'll give you hopefully access. But if it doesn't, it's Clayton at Carbon6.io, and it's just my name on LinkedIn. And would love to answer any questions that anybody viewing this after the original recording has, and feel free to reach out. Happy to help.
Thank you. And Greg, any last words?
Yeah, well, I think in two ways. One, we're always happy to take a look at your ads. If you're already doing this, we're happy to take a look and provide any pointers. We're also happy to audit your direct Amazon ads or your listings if you'd like. So Greg at vendocommerce.com is where we're at. And I think the other part of it is your listings. If you need help with your listings, definitely check out Vendo to do that piece of it first, because like we talked about earlier, that's a really important prerequisite here.
Yeah, and it was probably my fault, but I didn't introduce Vendo at the beginning maybe properly. We are a turnkey Amazon management and Walmart management solution. So even though the focus of this top webinar has been advertising, we do everything A to Z: marketing, advertising, creative content, SEO, channel control, customer service, logistics, you name it. We're your one-stop shop. And so we'd love to take a look at your business, whether it be on Amazon and Walmart, and do an assessment if you would be interested. But I'm sure everyone's busy, so we'll leave it at that. Look out for the emails with the recordings and slides, and look out for our next webinars. We love putting out content. We have a bi-weekly podcast called Vendo Velocity. We also have a weekly live stream on LinkedIn, also called Vendo Velocity. So plenty of content to be enjoyed. But yeah, thanks again, Clayton, Greg. It's been awesome, and we'll see y'all next time.